Hi, today we're going to be talking about evictions in 2021. So we've got a lot of tips, some information to share with you guys, and we will be right back. Hey there, you guys. Welcome back to Real Estate Divas. I'm jer'leigh Thompson with Texel and Real Estate Reformation, blah.
and I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage Investments, and we're talking about evictions in 2021.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, 2021, obviously, none were done in 2020.
That we know about, or very few were done.
Very few were done. It was difficult.
And this is something that, as a longtime landlord, and I just saw that moratorium as just a terrible, terrible idea for all the small business owners out there.
I completely agree, which you might be surprised about, but I completely agree only in the sense that we had people, as usual in government, making decisions about businesses that they don't know all the ins and outs to, right? So yeah, while it seems like a good idea and maybe the corporations could weather the storm, we're talking about the mom and pops that own, less than 50 properties, less than 20 properties, and they still have to
five properties.
Yeah, they still have to pay the mortgage on that. So you can't stop it here without talking about what's going on, above them. There needed to be a better thought process or a better chain of events happening rather than just, no, this is where it stops.
Or somebody going live on national television just saying, hey, don't pay your rent or your mortgage.
Yeah.
It'll work out just fine.
It'll be fine. Anyway, but now here we are, 2021, and we're here to talk about what's out there, what is going on, where we're at. So just for reference, in the future, this is August 2021, and our moratorium was extended till October 3rd. And what does that look like?
That looks like we're kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
Maybe. So yes, jer'leigh and I probably are on two sides of this coin on what you need to know. But if you are a landlord and you're staring at some pretty hard financial times, you might be able to go and evict your tenant if they are not doing everything that they should be to getting their rent caught up.
Well, it's definitely, at least some perimeters have been set. Like there are certain guidelines that people have to hit, certain steps that they've got to take in order to maintain their residence and not get evicted. So there is a list of things that they have to do. And if they fall outside of that list, or if there's something that they're doing that doesn't fall in these categories, then the landlords have a case.
So let's just go through what the tenant has to do first.
Okay.
Yes, we understand. You're a landlord and you're not getting rent, and that's why you want to go evict them and get them out of your property so you could rent it to somebody who will pay you. But what does the tenant have to do to not get evicted? Number one thing, they cannot make more than $99,000 a year.
Yep. So that, I've got a lot of friends and family members that make less than $99,000, but I've got a ton that make more and that lost their jobs for a period of time, but they still had to. This is assuming that you've got the reserves, that you can still make that payment. You were given some leeway, but you're not going to get that extension unless you make less than $100,000.
Right. And so if you're a landlord and you're renting out a $250,000 house and you're constantly getting, I'm sorry, I can't make any rental payment this month.
Yep.
You probably have a case for eviction because they make too much money and they are not protected by the CDC or the moratorium on evictions.
Now, to that point, you and I discussed this like right before the show. So to that point, it was the moment you said, well, if they're not making any payments, they can make partial payments. And I was like, what? That apparently that shows that you're making effort, that the partial payments, whereas normally with a lease you don't want to accept partial payments, but in this instance partial payments would be okay, and it wouldn't be like the landlord has readjusted their lease or agreed to a different lease term now that they've taken a partial payment.
It's in the CDC guidelines that they have to be making an effort to at least get as close to their full monthly rent as possible every month. They've got to be paying something.
So that is completely different than what landlords are typically, prone to allowing, right? So, because my knee-jerk reaction would have been like, no, I don't want any money from you, because then my lease is different. Like now I've just agreed to something else. But the way this is set up, it's allowing for you to accept that, continue to accept money from your tenants, and requiring them to do something, which is different.
So if they've been making something, any amount, even if it's half of what it is, they need to try and go get rental assistance.
And rental assistance, do they give any guidelines as far as like where to go for rental assistance?
To your state and your municipality, there are billions of dollars earmarked for rental assistance, and apparently a very fraction of it
has gone out.
Has gone out and been claimed because people just don't attempt it or don't go after it.
Well, and I think more than anything, you don't know. So, and you know as well as I do, and most investors out there know, when you're dealing with something that's imminent and scary, and whether it's foreclosure, it's a short set, you put your head in the sand and you do not want to deal. Rather than Google that, baby. Let's Google it. Let's find out what the solution is, and let's find out how to get out of this.
Right. And let's go find some
let's
rental.
Find that money.
If your tenant does not attempt, does not fill out the paperwork, cannot prove that they actually went after rental assistance, they are not covered under that moratorium, and you can evict them.
Wow. Well, so besides the partial payments, then there are a few other things. And in fact, we have the CDC form that we can show everybody. The CDC form is basically the Eviction Protection Declaration. And this is a form you've got to fill out in order to hopefully, as a tenant, be able to evade eviction. But if it's filled out improperly, then it also gives the landlord a case.
Right. So when this first part is, do you qualify?
Yep.
You've got to check one box and one box only. You might check all of them, but you have to have at least one box checked in column A and one box checked in column B. And that will tell you, do you qualify?
And those boxes are, there's several reasons why you would, qualify column A and column B. The column A, you received a stimulus check in 2020 or 2021, and I think most people did.
Most people did.
So, that one's kind of a gimme as far as I'm concerned.
I didn't get one.
Yeah. I did. I got one.
I didn't get one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people out there who got them.
And I was not required to report any income in the IRS for 2020. So basically, if you were laid off and you weren't making any money and you're under that poverty, then you're not required to claim anything.
If you're on unemployment, are you reporting income to the IRS?
I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on your unemployment.
Because you pay taxes on that, don't you?
Yep.
You pay unemployment taxes. Well, not unemployment taxes. You pay working taxes on that. So, again, it's a little confusing, because if you took unemployment, are you reporting income? Because that is income.
True, but I'm sure that I didn't have to do this, so I'm not like.
I know. Well,
yeah. So hopefully you looked into this, and you know whether or not the IRS was needing you to report.
But by the way, this form is required
in order to not be evicted. Yes.
A tenant has to fill this out.
Yes.
And they're going to have to look at this and go, well, I don't even know how to check these boxes. Do I qualify for any of this?
Google.
Google if you qualify for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So again, it looks like it's pretty easy to qualify. Step 2, though, becomes a little more challenging. And my declaration that I qualify, I find this interesting, right? It's like, do I qualify? And I can check these boxes. But then this next one, you've got to, by checking these boxes below, you've got to say, you're saying that these statements are all true. So my income level qualifies for the reasons explained above. All right, cool, maybe.
Yep.
But what if it doesn't? You only had to check one box above.
No, you had to check one box in each column.
Yeah, but what if this wasn't one of the boxes? I mean, now this is saying that you need all of those. I live in the U.S. county experiencing substantially or high rates of community transmission. That's not the case for a lot of places. Yeah, around your major cities, it seems true.
Yeah. But I think that I don't know if this is this saying that you have to check all 5 of those boxes in order to qualify?
By checking the boxes below, I declare each statement is true.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
Well, if I were evicted, then I would have no other place to go.
Yeah.
I would say that's a pretty easy statement for anybody who's getting evicted.
Yeah, and it says or you'd have to live with others in close quarters.
The one that we did just discuss, though, is I've done my best to make timely partial payments that are as close to the possible full payment as possible that they can afford.
Yeah.
And get government assistance in making those payments. So that one right there.
If the tenant has never attempted to go get rental assistance, and I bet you anything a bunch of them haven't.
Yep.
That right there negates them from.
Well, I think it doesn't help their case. I don't know that it negates them because the part 1 definitely said if you check one box in each of this, then you do qualify to file this. Then we've got to look into your case a little bit further.
Right. But a lot of the mom and pop landlords that I've talked to who have needed to evict somebody, they've been afraid to.
Yep.
You know, they were, basically told, okay, you're going to lose. So do you jump through all these hoops, do all the paperwork, pay all the fees?
And there are fees. I mean, there's
Evictions
court
are
filing
free.
fees. They are not free. They are not free.
And so to go through all of that, to have them not evicted anyways, do a lot of mom and pops want to do that? Because a lot of mom and pops are sitting out here going, oh, well, they just
I've already lost so much money. Then, well, and what did we find out? That there are fines if you lose this case.
Well, if you successfully evict and they come back at you saying this was an unlawful eviction, the penalty for violating the moratorium is $100,000 or 1 year in jail or both.
Wow.
So, for a mom and pop, just, somebody who has 10 properties, is this something you want to...
3 properties?
Yeah, is this something you want to mess around with going, gosh, I've got to get this back. I can't afford to have...
Well, and I can only imagine that and I could be wrong, but I can only imagine an illegal eviction would be one that didn't go through the court system.
Is that possible?
Well, I mean, it's not legal.
So if you just went in, changed the locks, and put somebody out on the street?
Yes.
I'd like to know how often that happens.
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never done something like
No.
that. I hope people don't do that.
Yeah. Agreed. But I think it does happen.
And that might be the case. If somebody were to die of COVID, I think they have to die of COVID. It's not just dying of anything. But if they died of COVID after you evicted them, the fine goes up to $250,000.
Wow. Well, I mean, that right there tells everybody, even the mom and pops obviously don't do it the illegal way, but all of these items, I mean, I think it's good information for the landlords to know as well what kind of hoops the tenant has to jump through in order to make their case.
I know one landlord in particular who's so upset about it, but they have been going without rent for almost 18 months.
Wow.
And there's just nothing to be, and they were at the point where there's just nothing to be done about it.
Yep.
And are they ever going to see that money back is the question. So, looking at this going, is it worth kind of rolling the dice? At least if you made them jump through all these hoops, at least you can maybe make up with rental assistance. Either getting your property back or getting a huge check back from
the government.
From the government.
Or some sort of rental assistance
program.
entity. Yeah.
So I actually think it would be worth it for landlords to go ahead and try this. Now, I don't know if once you evict them, because eviction is just the legal right to take your property back. You still have to come back, 5 days later and file a writ of possession, and then you have to get the constable to actually
come out
and move them out.
So it's a process, and most landlords know that this is a process, but it's a process, and the likelihood is if these tenants are not taking any steps to make good on that lease, then I would say that the landlords need to be going ahead, and that's one thing that we found out, but going ahead and filing for eviction. Every county is different. Every
county is different, and some of them are
flat out not doing evictions.
And some are pro-evictions
Yep.
and are fining for the landlords. So you really need to know which judge you're going to go in front of if this is something you want. But there are a lot of stories lately of going in front of eviction court, and the judge did not side, but what they did was give 30 days for them to go get rental assistance, knowing that would be a better outcome for the landlord anyways.
Absolutely.
Because if they could get a year's worth of back rent.
Absolutely. And just pushing, because even that, I feel like that's kind of a win-win, because here you are, now the landlord gets exactly what they need, which is that back money. But then the tenant can take their head out of the sand and go, oh my gosh, it's not doomsday. There is something out there, because a lot of people that, like I said, you and I both know, we've experienced it. We've probably gotten deals from these types of people that just stick their head in the sand and they don't want to think about it. And so they don't do any research. They don't try to figure out what route they can do to get out of this situation. I'm just going to ignore it and cross my fingers. So, that's a win-win in my opinion if a judge orders that. But I do agree with you. I do think that the landlords need to go ahead and start these processes if your county allows.
Well, and if you know that you need to get this done, because if somebody isn't making any partial payments.
Or suggest that to your tenant. There's one part. If you don't want to go ahead and file that eviction, you don't want to be out more money on top of, then mention, look, this is what I need you to do.
Yeah, make your partial payments.
Yep.
Because they're going to have to make partial payments anyways in order to be covered by the moratorium.
Absolutely.
So if they're making an effort, at least you're not out.
All of it.
All of it.
Well, and so when you were doing some research on this, you found out that they can get evicted for other reasons.
Yes. Any lease violation.
Interesting. So, damage to property.
Damage to property. Or, a big one is, did they keep the lawn mowed? They can be evicted for that. All you need to do is be
document
it.
And pet agreements.
The crazy thing is, where there are things that you might have turned a blind eye to in the past, when you get to this and they're not paying their rent, they're not making partial payments, they're not going after rental assistance.
Yep.
They're basically looking for a way to live for free because they can right now. Getting them out on another lease violation that might seem petty, it's still another option. So they have not, in most counties, they have not stopped that. If somebody is violating their lease in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. So there's an option.
Right.
Personally, as a landlord, I would probably reach out to my tenants, but I've been very, very lucky, knock on wood, that my tenants have paid during the whole thing. But I would suggest rental assistance, Like here, Google it, here's some options, maybe even show them some options because you want to get paid, you know?
Right. I mean, and when you're talking about 12 to 18 months of back rent, you should be filling out their rental
Yeah, do
assistance
it for 'em.
I mean, you got an hour or two. You can
Yeah.
sit down and help them fill out a packet of paperwork
Yeah,
in order for you to get paid down the road too.
yeah,
And I have to imagine that there are a lot of landlords who have taken that initiative, you know, especially if they had something where it was just rampant.
absolutely.
And there are some unfortunate people who have had, you know, the wrong rental properties
I
and
agree.
haven't been able to.
I agree. Which brings me to my tip of the day.
Ooh, what's your tip of the day?
So I've got a tip. My tip of the day. Hold on.
Oh,
Tip
we
of the
got
day.
graphics. We had art for your tip of the day. What's your tip of the day?
Here we go.
So when getting tenants, when I do, tenant background checks, usually it's pretty automated. They go in there, they fill out their application, we get the background check, we get the credit check, all of that business. A lot of tenants don't have a lot of credit. You know, they're building their credit. So immediately I go on their social media. I get all their social media accounts and I go and check them out. I mean, I just want to know what kind of tenant I'm getting. I want to know, are they party all the time? Are they, is it a lot of drama? I mean, the drama is a huge indicator. If you're just friends and family and you're posting about school and I'm renting to students, okay, fine. It's not that I'm going to say no partiers allowed. I partied, but I don't want a lot of drama. I don't want everything they touch to be drama. Was there something about a bad breakup? Was there something about leaving an apartment? You can find out just like work. You can find out everything.
So that works for short term.
Yeah.
Short-term rentals, it does.
That's a nice tip as well.
Yeah, as far as if you're a little worried about some comments that they made on going why they're renting it, go check out their Facebook page.
Yeah. See what they're up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they're from, what you up to, what are you coming to town
again,
for?
Right. And again, if you're talking about a weekend, it's not as big of a deal as, say, somebody who you're going to be giving a 1-year lease to.
Yeah. Absolutely. But even if it's like a week-long thing, there for a while, and part of the reason why Arlington made an Airbnb area was because they had a whole section of Arlington that was upset about people renting Airbnbs for filming.
Filming? Mm-hmm. What kind of filming?
For the porn industry filming. And so they didn't want...
In Arlington?
Yeah, if you've got a nice house, it's a nice house. So just a lot of people coming in and out. You want the nice background. You need it furnished.
I think you're going into the wrong tip of the day.
I am. I did not mean to go. Am I red?
Now every time I'm going to look at Arlington on a map, I'm going to think porno.
No, you're not. No, you're not. It happened all over, but were certain complaints in North Arlington about that. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So
there you
North
go.
Arlington.
Well,
I just want to know how long my commute's going to be.
yeah. You're taking up a new industry.
I don't know.
I don't
Apparently
know.
that's what goes on there in Arlington. No idea.
Anyway, so my tip of the day, just check out people's social media. It gives you all kinds of information.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Okay, so I have a different tip.
Okay.
Our pizza's here. Yeah, no. My tip of the day goes for wholesalers and new investors who always see those bandit signs out. Mm-hmm. And they're bright yellow or white, and it's we buy houses, and then they put a cell phone number on there. Mm-hmm. Never put your cell phone number, your personal cell phone number on that sign. Go get a free Google Voice number and put it on there.
Yep.
Because you don't want to happen what happened to me when the dog catcher in Box Springs, Texas, was following me, and I was like, gosh, that's weird. But I'm like, don't be paranoid. Why would the
I'm
dog?
not a dog.
Why would the dog catcher be following me? And then all of a sudden, I parked to go put another one of my signs out, and he boxed me in, and he goes, "We've been looking for you for a long time." And he called the number on the sign, expecting my phone to ring, which I put it on silent, very carefully, so he couldn't hear it ring. But that's how they get you. So if you have a phone number that's registered to you,
And then you'll get fined, and they'll track you down.
to the tune of $200 per sign.
Dang. Yeah, don't do that.
So when you're doing your bandit signs, make sure and have an anonymous phone number on there.
Nice. I was thinking about bandit signs at my drive from West Texas and stopped by an RV park, and we were kind of brainstorming about just tenants for an RV park. And I was like, bandit signs. Do some bandit signs.
Bandit signs are good for buying property. Where I usually use them is for selling property.
Yeah,
For finding owner finance buyers.
exactly. I see those all the time. But still, use a Google number.
Always use a Google number.
Yeah.
And that way they can't track you down. It's untraceable Google number. Good luck.
Nice. Nice. Well, I think that's it on the evictions in 2021. If you guys have any experience, or
I'd
y'all
love to
have
hear
some,
some comments on
some
this.
comments, if you've already filed, or if you're a tenant that's gone through this process and you've been, trying to make payments, just tell us about your experience.
And these tips can go both ways.
They really can.
I mean, if you know that you're facing eviction, go get everything done on this list and avoid it. And miraculously, you might actually pay off your back rent anyways.
Yes, exactly. But thanks for tuning in, and check out some of our other videos. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.